In our previous video, we understood about the static routing, how to configure the static routing in the Palo Alto Firewall and how does it works, right? So in this video, let's understand about the dynamic routing protocols. So as you know, the dynamic routing protocols that is supported in Palo Alto Firewall is RIP, OSPF, and BGP. So in this video, let's see how to configure the RIP version 2 dynamic routing protocol and how does it works. So in order to do so, I have taken this topology. Okay, so in this topology I have only one zone. Okay, means I don't have an outside zone. What we are going to do, we are going to configure, means we have two routers here, router 1 and router 2, that is connected via switch to Palo Alto. All right, so we have this topology. We are going to run a RIP version 2 in this network, means in inside zone. We are going to run a RIP in this router at router 2 as well as in the interface 1/1 and the loopback interfaces of 555 and 6666. Okay, and so let's see how the networks are advertised and how the routes are learned using the dynamic routing protocol. So as we discussed earlier, in the dynamic routing protocol, we don't need to manually specify how to reach any destination. Instead, we just need to advertise a network that need to be reached through the RIP. All right, so let's see how to do so. Fine, so first let's configure the router 1 and router 2, then we'll come to the Palo Alto as usual. So already we have a configuration that was done in the last session, right? So for an easy understanding and to avoid confusion, I have reset the configuration that I have done in our last video when we practice for static routing. Okay, all right, so what I'll do, I'll just click my router here. I'll just first configure this router 1, then launch this. Fine, so now we are at router 1. I'll just change the host name as, okay, it's already as router 1 only. For some reasons it's not shown. If you see here at the top, it's already the router name 1. All right, so the first thing is we need to configure the IP address for the interfaces and loopback IP addresses. These two are the loopback interfaces we are going to configure. We just consider that there are two more networks behind this router. That is the idea of creating loopback. Okay, so the reason why we are creating multiple loopback in each router is to just correlate a situation how there are other networks that is learned through this router. All right, so first let me configure the interface IP fast Ethernet 0/0 and the command is IP address. So it's the same topology. Okay, we have taken 10.10.10.0/24, right? So this device is going to be configured for by 10.10.10.01 and it's going to be 10.10.02, and the gateway or Palo Alto interface is going to be 10.10.10.100. So for this I'm just configuring at 10.10.10.1. okay, and 255, it's a /24, right? So 255.255.255.0. Fine, so very important, we need to give no shit for the physical interfaces. So now let's create a couple of loopback interfaces. The command is interface loopback1. The IP address for that is 1.1.1.1. It should be /32. All right, so the subnet mask is 255.255.255.255. So I'm just creating a one more loopback. Either you can get into the other loopback from by directly, or you can come out with the command exit and you can put, okay, loopback 11 IP address is, so you can, this is just a log, right? Once it came up, once we create a loopback 11, it is automatically coming up. Okay, this is a notification saying that loopback 11 is coming up. So it doesn't mean that means we are in the process of typing the IP address, right? In the mid of typing IP address, so we can simply type ignoring that, it will take. Okay, 255.255.255. You don't need to consider about it. Okay. Exit. If you want to validate it, whether the given IP address is configured, let's validate it with the command do show IP interface brief. All right. So if you see, right, we have configured the device with this IP address 10.10.10.1 for this interface, as well as the loopback IP addresses. So now let's configure the router RIP, means a RIP routing protocol here before we are going to the router 2. So we have already seen detail in a couple of last couple of videos, right? How to configure interfaces IP. So I'm directly now configuring routing protocol RIP. Okay, so once it's done, let's configure router 2 with IP address and the routing protocol, the RIP routing protocol. So in order to enable the RIP routing protocol, the command is within a configuration terminal router RIP. Hit enter. So this will enable the RIP routing protocol in your router. And as it is a RIP, you no need to give a subnet mask. You can just define your network. You just advertise the network that need to be advertised through the RIP. So I want to advertise the network 1111 and 111111 over the RIP. Okay, because this is a directly connected interface, right? I just wanted to advertise this. So using the command network, and I'll put the IP address of the network. And in RIP, you don't need to give any subnet mask. Okay, you can just directly put the network and put the IP. Network, other loopback is 1111.1111.1111. That's it. So the version of RIP we are going to configure here is version 2. Okay, RIP version 2. So that I'm specifying RIP version 2. Exit. You can check that. Show run. Okay, I need to put do show run router RIP. Okay, it didn't take. Maybe I'll put show run. So if you see, right, we have configured the loopback interfaces and we have configured the RIP here. Router RIP is the command. We are using second version of RIP version 2, and actually we have given IP address 1.1.1. However, it takes /8. Okay, it takes the /8 of one network as well as the /8 of 11 network. So this is how it will consider the entire network. Fine. So the routing part in router 1 is completed. If you check now, show IP route, you will not see anything unless the directly connected network. So what are the directly connected interface? One is that 1111, the loopback that we have created at router 1, and 111111 is also the directly connected loopback interface we have created, and 10.10.10 is the interface IP address or physical interface IP address. So all these three are directly connected to router 1. Okay, so far we have not learnt anything from router 2 or Palo Alto because we have not yet completed our configuration, or we have not done any configuration in the peer end, neighbor end. So maybe once we done the neighbor end configurations, we can see those informations. Right, I'll minimize it. Now I'll open router 2. Okay, I'll just keep this aside. We'll enlarge a little. Okay. So if you see here, it has two interfaces so far, and there is no IP address configured. Okay, first we need to configure the IP address based on our topology. So what is the IP address we need to configure? In order to configure the IP address, we need to get into the configuration terminal mode. Now I am in configuration terminal mode. Now I need to specify interface fast Ethernet 0/0. The IP address to be configured here is 10.10.10.2, and it's a /24 network. So the subnet mask is 255.255.255.0. I need to specify the command no shut. Okay. Now I have configured the interface IP address. So once I configured the interface IP address, this interface came up, right? Now I need to configure the loopback address. Interface loopback to IP address IP address 2.2.2.2. It's a slash 20, sorry, 34, right? So I'm putting all 255. All right. So loopback 2 is created as like the same interface loopback 22. Okay. IP address 22.22.22.22. Right. And here the subnet mask is 255. Right. So we have not given. So subnet mask is 255.255.255. All right. Hit enter. So now we have configured the IP address as well as the loopback interface. We can validate it with the command show IP interface brief. Okay. So if you see here, interface IPs are configured and loopbacks are configured. Now we need to configure the routing protocol RIP. Okay, because this as per this topology is running in RIP, right? In router 1, router 2 and Palo Alto. So getting into config mode. So I'm sorry, I'm already in a configuration mode. In order to do so, enable router means RIP. The command for is router RIP, and here we need to mention version 2, and we need to advertise the router using the command, sorry, advertise the network using the command network. Okay, so we don't need to advertise the network 10 because it's directly connected to router through which the advertisement takes place. So what we need to do, we can advertise this to 222 and 22 network. All right, 2.2.2.2, enter, network 22.22.22.22, enter. That's it. There is another simple way. So what you can do, instead of if you don't know, and if you don't want to especially for rep, okay, if you don't want to advertise each and every network, you can put network 000 4 zeros. That's it. So what it will do, it will route all the networks that is configured in the particular device or router. Fine. So let's validate with the command do show run. So if you see, we have configured the loopback interface to loopback interface and this thing interface IP address, and this is the router configuration that we have did. Okay, and now let's check for the routing protocol, means let's check for the routes that's learned through RIP. Okay, show IP route. If you put the command show IP route, currently we have only 3 networks learned, right? Let's check after few minutes. Okay, so far we have configured RIP in router 1 and router 2. Still we have not seen any routes from router 1 reaching router 2, because though it is connected to a switch, the gateway, means the connection is going through here, right? So we need to configure the this interface as well, the Palo Alto interface itself, and let's check. Okay, right. So let me log into my Palo Alto, and as usual, I'll go to networks. First, let me create a zone. So as per this topology, we have only one zone, right? It's fine to create only one zone. I'll go here. That means it's still loading. So once the loading is completed, it's loaded. At the bottom, we'll be seeing an option as add. By clicking it, we can create a layer 3 zone. Can mention as inside zone. It's an layer 3. Okay, it's a layer 3 zone. Okay, so we have created the zone now. So once it's done, we can go to the interface, Ethernet, under interface Ethernet. First, we have only one interface as per this topology, right? That interface is 1/1, that to be configured with an IP 10.10.10.100. So this is that interface. I'm clicking it. We can name anything. I just put inside because it's a part of inside zone. So interface type is, it should be an L3 layer 3. Okay. And currently I'm not configuring any virtual routes. Okay, virtual router. Let's do it later once we configure the interface configurations. As usual, let's do it in the next step. Okay, for now I'll just mark only the security zone. It's an inside zone. Then we need to configure the IP address. The IP address for this interface is 10.10.10.100/24. Fine. And advanced, so that it's an auto. So the management profile, it says none. I need to add ping to it. Click OK. So once we're done, the interface configuration is ready. So it's a layer 3 with the ping management profile with this IP address. But so far we don't have any virtual router assigned to that interface, or this interface is not taking for any virtual router. So now what we'll do, let's create the virtual router. So for that, click virtual router option here at the left side. So by default, as I said, you'll be seeing some virtual router here. If you have reset the configuration, maybe it will be going away. Even if you see in the last video when we are talking about a static route, there is a virtual router we have created. But as I said earlier, before starting this video, I have reset that configuration so that it's gone. Okay. So let's create a new virtual router. For this, we need to just give the name of the virtual router. I'll name it as like virtual router 1. So here we need to give the name of the virtual router. I'll name it as virtual router 1. And as you know, any interface that need to be part of this operation to be added to this router, right? So as per my topology here, interface 1/1 should be part of this routing. So I'll add to this virtual router. So in order to do so, you can click this add button and you can add 1/1. Okay, I forgot to create the loopback. That's fine. Maybe we'll first configure this and okay, but anyway, let's cancel this for now because we need to configure the RIP for this interfaces as well. So what we'll do, let's create the loopback first and we'll go for there. So just click the loopback and let's create two loopbacks here. One is 5 as usual, and virtual router is nothing. Let both the loopback be part of inside zone only. Okay, the IP address is 5.5.5.5. It's /32 network, and I have added a management profile ping to it. Okay, click OK. And we need to create one more loopback as per our topology. It's loopback 6. And the security zone is inside zone again, IPv4. Add, here we need to add the address 6666/32, and in advanced put as ping. Okay, so we have created two loopback interfaces and both are part of inside zone. Okay, now let's go and create the virtual routers. I'll click the virtual routers here. So let's create by adding a new virtual router. Let's click add, name the virtual router with virtual_router_1. Click the add button here. So let's add all the interfaces to be part of this routing. So interface 1/1, loopback 5 and loopback 6 are added. Okay, now we are configuring RIP. In our previous video, we went to static routes and we have configured the static route, right? However, this time we are configuring RIP. So in order to configure the RIP, we need to select the option RIP here. Okay, so once we selected, by default it is disabled. It means this enable option is not clicked. So in order to enable, click a RIP in this device. So this is like the command router rip in the router which we use, right, to enable the routing protocol rip. Okay, by default it rejects the default route that's coming through the rip. Okay, and if you want, you can means based on your topology, if you require it, you can receive, else you can ignore. All right, so now we need to advertise the networks. How to do? So in order to add configure, we need to click the add button here, click add. Here we need to define the interface through which the RIP to be connected, or through which the RIP topology is connected. If you see here, right, here this interface, here this interface, here this interface, right? So already we have configured in both of this router. Okay, now we need to configure this interface and the loopback interface 5555 and 6666. So first let me add 1/1 and this enable command will enable it. Okay, if not, then it cannot be. All right, and advertise a default route, as like how we are advertising, means rejecting default route from the peer. If you want to advertise it from this device, you can do it. All right, here authentication profile. Let's see in the next video how authentication profile works. Okay, means basically it's a kind of a security parameter to avoid any unauthorized device to join the network. Okay, we can make a secured network by using authentication routing. And the mode, there are three modes. One is a normal, passive, and send only. So if it is a normal, it will send and receive. Okay, hello messages will be sent and received over this interface. The RIP hello message will be sent and received. Whereas passive, in the passive mode, it will not send and receive the hello messages. Hello exchanges will not happen through that interface if we make it passive. And if we make send only, it will only send the hello messages. Okay, so let's keep it in the normal only, and BFT, let it be. I'm just clicking OK. Okay, so this is how we are advertising this interface network. And if we want to advertise the loopback also, we can just click add, and here we need to, under the interface, we can add the loopback. But the thing is, when we add a loopback here for the RIP, we cannot make it in the normal mode. We can make it in a passive only. Okay, so I'll make it passive. Click OK. Again, I'll add loopback 6. I will make it passive. Click OK. So now all my three interfaces, means the three networks, the other two networks are also added here. So which means I can click OK. So we have created interfaces, we have created zone, we have created the virtual routers. Let's commit it. So for this, we don't need to create any security policy, because we are not making any zone-to-zone transactions, right? Any zone-to-zone communication. So this is communication within a zone. Okay, routing within a zone. So as you know, in the security policy, we have a default policy which is named as intra-zone policy. Okay, as you know, there are two policies, right? One is inter-zone policy and the other one is intra-zone policy. So any traffic within the zone is always permitted, so we don't need to create a separate policy for it. We already have it. Okay, let's wait. It's 0%. So once this is committed, we can log into our device and we can check the routing table. We can see this device, router 1 will receive 2222 network and 22 network, as well as 5 network, 6 network over RIP. As same, router 2 will receive this 1 network, 11 network, 5 network, 6 network over RIP. And Palo Alto will also receive 1 network, 11 network, 2 network, 22 network over the RIP routing protocol. Okay, so for 55% is completed. Let's wait. 98% is completed now. All right, it's successfully committed. Okay, let's close this. Let's log in to our routers and check. So now we have saved the configuration. Let's log into our routers and check. So for now, how it should work is, means we have configured the RIP in router 1, router 2 and Palo Alto, right? So using RIP, we should learn this 2 network, 22 network, 5 and 6 here, as well as 1 11 network, 5 network, 6 network here, and 1 network, 11 network, 2 network, 22 network here. All right, let's check that. So this is our router 1. Let's check with our command show IP route. Okay, we have only 3 networks, and that too directly connected networks is learned, showing in the route. So far we have not received any routes from the RIP. Let's check the same from other router, show IP route. Okay, so we have not received any route in the router 2 as well. Let's do one thing. Let's verify our configuration, show running IP route. Okay, router RIP is the command, it should come. Okay, no problem. Let's put show run and we'll check for the router. Router RIP version 2, network, this network 11. All right. So this 10 network is not advertised. Okay. This 10 network is not advertised, and that's the reason through 10 network it didn't learn anything. So what we'll do, let's go into configuration terminal and router RIP, just advertise network 10.10.10.1. Okay, anyway, it's going to take on /8 only. Okay, so I put that, and also in router 2, let me check the same. I think that is the issue. Show run. Okay, show run router RIP. All right, so here as well we have the same issue. So we'll get into configuration mode, router RIP. So we need to add one more network, that's 10.10.10.2. That's it. So we'll put exit from here now. So now it will take few seconds, it's like 30 seconds. Okay, it will take 30 seconds. Let's check. Now let's check the status from the router 1. Show IP route. All right. See, if we see, right, so once we advertise this 10 network in the router, we are seeing the 2 network that's learned from router 2, and also 22 network is also learned from router 2, and 5 network and 6 network that's learned from Palo Alto. Okay, so it's confirmed that RIP is working. So let's check in the other router as well, and then at last let's go and check in the Palo Alto. Show IP route. Now I'm checking from my router to this router. Okay, so if you see wherever it is showing is like R, right, these are the route that's learned through the routing protocol RIP, right? So if you see one network means this 1.1.1.1, all right, that's learned via RIP, and then this 2 network is directly connected for router 2. And if you see 5 network, it is the loopback from Palo Alto, that's learned via RIP. 6 network is also learned via RIP, and 11 network, that's this network, is also learned from router 1 through RIP. Okay, so we can also try to ping, means now I'm in router 2, means I'm in router, this router, right? From here, if I try to ping 111, let's check. 81 reach. So from router 2, I'm able to reach router 1. All right, fine, it's going through this and it's going here. Let's check our Palo Alto. Okay, let's log into our CLI and check the routing table, and also let's check the reachability from Palo Alto to this router and this router networks. Okay, so this is our IP address, right? 192.168.0.100. It's loading. Okay, I'm giving admin. So my password means already I have saved my password when I save this session. Okay, when I save this credentials, I have already saved the password. That's the reason it's not asking me the password whenever I'm logging to the CLI. Fine. So here, in order to check the routing table, what is the command? Show routing route. This is the command, right? So if you check here, okay, so last time when we discussed about static route, we have seen that the flags are shown as like active. Yes, it shows as AS, right? Which we discussed as active state static route, the route that's learned through static routing. But this time, if you see, it's mentioned as like R. R denotes RIP routing protocol. It's a dynamic routing protocol. Okay, so this one network, this two network, and 11 network and 22 network are learned through RIP routing protocol. If you remember in our previous video when we discussed about static routing, we have manually defined the routers. Like if you want to go to 1.1.1, you should go through this interface or to that next hop like that, right? But this time we have not done anything. We have just advertised the network and this route is automatically learned. This is the great advantages of dynamic routing protocol. Okay, let's check the connectivity. So already it's learned, right? So anyway, we can able to reach it, but I'll show you. Ping, I'll put source as 10.10.10.100, right? This is the interface IP that configured for interface 1/1 to the destination. With the host name, I should put 1.1.1. This is the loopback that's configured at router 1. See, I'm able to reach. And also, if you see 2.2.2.2, I'm getting response. All right. So this is how RIP works. The dynamic routing protocol RIP works.